Hey, what's up guys? It's Tom, aka Notorious EDC, and today I wanted to show you how to shoot your gear at home with just your phone and no fancy lighting. We're gonna go through the apps that I'm using, how I shoot them, the way that I shoot them, and how I edit them, all the way up to how I post them with hashtags. So I'm gonna show you guys kind of like, hopefully quick way to do this easily without buying any extra stuff, just what you have at home. So I'm going to show you guys the setup right now. So basically I have the gear on an old milk crate that I painted black, and it's just by the window, and I'm trying to adjust the exposure here so you can see that it's very overcast today, very cloudy, which is really nice for shooting some gear at home because it helps with really reflective stuff. It doesn't look super crazy, and the light is nice and soft and even. So also helping with that is having stone washed stuff, which is why I chose the bean cleaver. And speaking of the gear, let's kind of go over what is here real quick, because I'm sure there will be questions and I would like to just answer that and get that out of the way. So from left to right, we have the Victorinox Bantam in a dark gray Alox, Ian Schoen design clip pen that's in titanium, or is it aluminum? I don't remember. Maybe it's aluminum. Yeah, I think it's aluminum. And then we have the Serge Panchenko bean cleaver, which is a really awesome knife, and Serge rules, so definitely holler at him and try and get a knife from him. And then we have the Maritac AAA in titanium, sold through CountyCom. And last but not least is the Casey Lynch All Access Pass V2 titanium pry bar. So, okay, so now let's talk about how to shoot this stuff. So as you can see, it's not the stock Apple camera app, and the reason why is because up here on the top, I'm sorry you guys can't see what I'm actually touching to choose this, but when you have the white balance not able to be picked by you, the phone is just going to try and neutralize the background. So if I throw my hand in there, it's going to make the whole background bluer because my hand is warmer. And as you can see, when I take it out, it goes back to neutral. So the reason why we want to use this manual app, which I could show you right now, is this top left icon in cameras. I highly recommend purchasing this app. I have nothing to do with them. This isn't a promo for them. I think it's like under $5, but it's super worth it. So yeah, so let's pick our color balance, and you can kind of go through and see what you like the best. Right now, that sun means daylight, and that's going to make this the bluest. And then the open shade one's gonna make it really warm. And then the cloud is kind of gonna make it what it actually looks like in real life. So I kind of like to go for a neutral area like this. And then when we're in our editing app, we can make it bluer or warmer, depending on what you want to do. And then I'll just take you through all this so you can see what all these do. So this light bulb is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of like if you're in a warm light environment, like at home at nighttime, you're probably going to want to try that. This is for fluorescent lights, which are typically green, so it adds a lot of pink. And then this blue is for flash, which actually looks perfect with this, so I might actually keep that on there. And then Kelvin is, you can kind of adjust it exactly as you see fit, but you don't even have to get into all that. We can keep it simple. We'll just go cloudy. So there we are with the cloudy. And in this app, as you would have guessed, with it being called manual, you can choose your exposure based on exactly this. So you can kind of go through your shutter speeds here and see how dark you want this. I think that this picture would look really cool, nice and dark. But the thing you want to remember is most people have their phones at a very, very, very dark setting. I like to keep mine somewhere here at 50%, so I'm just gonna actually shoot at 50% so I could see what this is looking like. Typically, I like to shoot in a square format. I set this picture up a little bit too wide to be square, but that's okay, especially for just kind of explaining what to do. I think it'll be fine. So one thing that I forgot and I just had to cut away so I can grab it was getting this fill card is going to make a big difference. Like if you look at the bottom of all this stuff and even the side of that flashlight, once you take this out, everything gets a lot darker. So you want to use it kind of sparingly and far away for the most part. So that's how you get just that nice little highlight along the edge of the pen there. Nice little highlight along the edge of the flashlight. You can even hold it up higher. If you see the blade on the Surge bean cleaver, you can see it's dark and then now it has some light. So you can pick your poison with this, but just keep in mind where all the highlights are going to be along the stuff. Again, this is a piece of foam core. It was like a couple bucks at Michael's. So it's all very reasonable stuff. And you know, it's not hard to get. So let's do a little bit of this so we can get that blade looking right. So now I'm just playing around with different angles. You can see the blade on the Swiss Army knife. See it get much brighter when you angle back like this, but that also affects the pen. So you have a compromise here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a piece of paper out of my garbage can and I'm gonna show you guys what I would do here. So what I'm doing is, you can see the blade on the Swiss Army knife, see how it lights up? So literally all I have right now is this just right above the knife to reflect into it and add a little light. So super simple. So let's go ahead and snap that. Okay. I have a problem with holding my breath when I take a picture. So there we go, another shot. So what I like to do is I like to take a few just to see, you know, make sure they're sharp type of thing. And remember, I'm kind of imagining this as a horizontal crop. So I'm thinking of cropping up here and then right below the pry bar above that line, because I don't want to see that line across the bottom. So let's get one more shot in here. So let's focus on that, add a little light for that blade, and then try one more zoomed in a little bit. Cool. Okay, so now you don't have to watch the shakiness of my hand, which I apologize for, and I'm gonna hop into the camera and sit down and show you guys how I would edit this picture. So what I typically do is I go into VSco. That's my editing app of choice. I think it's free. There's tons of, there's my wife on the bottom, along with some David Tabor awesomeness in the middle and New York as well, and my ALOX collection. So yeah, I think VSco has a couple of filters for free, and I would just start with it for free because you don't really need to go and buy them all. I actually don't like filtering my pictures for this kind of stuff. So, and look at that cute dog that was in the Apple store. All right, so let's go ahead and just go with that last image because that's probably the best one. And then you're gonna choose this slider button on the bottom to edit it. So right now, I feel like this is looking a little bit warm. So what I'm gonna do immediately is go into the editing tool. So this wheel on the bottom left is the filters, and then the slider next to it is kind of like the granular editing stuff. So I've kind of, I've set up these icons on the bottom to an order that works for me. You can customize them to what works best for you. So actually first we're gonna crop. So let's do that. So I try to fit into these predetermined crop sizes because it's consistent with film. I am a photographer, so this kind of just works for me. But we can definitely go off script and do whatever we want. We can also zoom in and check the focus. So that looks pretty sharp, so that's good. So yeah, so let's cool this down a little bit because it's feeling a little warm. And I tend to like these like gray or black shots to look a little bit cooler. I think it makes the metal look nicer. So as you saw, I went down like 1.5. You don't want to go too much because then it's going to look kind of crazy. You know what? Let's let's stay at like -2. That's another thing, is sometimes you come back and you realize, I could have went further with it. So what you can do to see what your progress has been so far is to just hold your finger down on the picture, and you can do like an on and off just by holding down and then releasing. And as you can see, we have the blade lit up on the Victorinox, and we also have the edge of the Surge bean cleaver lit up. So I'm pretty happy with this in terms of lighting. So now we have it cooled off a little bit because it was feeling a little bit warm. And now I would like to add a little bit of contrast. Let's sharpen it and get that stuff sorted out first. And I gotta tell you guys, if you want to try and do this in the Instagram app, their editing software is actually pretty good. I prefer to do my vignette in Instagram because I think it looks much better than the VSCO one, and I'll show you why in a second. So, oh yeah, let me explain what I just did. So the sharpening, you don't want to go too far because then it starts to look barbecued. You know what I mean? There's a lot of dudes on Instagram that kind of go too far with it. The sharpening is not even really the big offender. This picture actually is probably a little soft because my hands are shaking because I drank coffee and I'm trying to film this. So we'll go to 2. And then clarity, this is the one that can make stuff look barbecued. So there's a lot of this on Instagram, and that's not good. I know art is subjective, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say that looks terrible, so don't do that. So for clarity on VSCO, again, this picture is a little bit soft because of the lighting, and everything's kind of like stonewashed and far away, not a lot of detail. So we can push this to like 1.5. Typically, I would just go to 1, and you can see with the on and off here, it already is looking a lot better. So we can even zoom in on the Swiss Army knife, and you can see the difference in sharpness, and it's a little bit cooler. So again, this is to taste. Do whatever you think looks good. I'm just showing you my way. You know, it's up to you though. So we can also add a little bit of contrast, which is over here on the left. And I'll just show you guys, when you go too far, it will look like it's floating in space and crazy. So that's 0. So maybe we just go to 1 just to add a little bit there. And like I said, we'll add a vignette in Instagram, because when we do that here, it kind of throws way too much and darkens the whole image. And it's almost too gradual to the point where you don't really feel like the corners getting dark, which is what it should look like. So I just don't really use it in VSCO too much, you know, unless it's a really wide scene or something. But just take a mental note that this doesn't really work for this. So let's go ahead and save that, and you can watch it change there in real time. Let's look at it one more time just to make sure we're cool with it. You know what, maybe we'll make it a little bit bluer. Let's see, we'll go to 2.5. How about 3? No, we'll go 2.5. Okay, that's cool. So let's save that. And then the bottom right ellipse, the ... is where you want to save to camera roll. And I would recommend saving stuff as large as possible. I know it takes up room on your phone, but this is what phones are these days, just a place to store pictures. So I would say go to actual size. I like to keep it over 2000 on the shortest side there. So let me turn my Wi-Fi back on so I can post this and show you what this will look like. So I'm gonna open up Instagram, and let's see, Nate's Knives. What up, Nate? All right, so let's add this in here. So yeah, so what you want to do is, obviously you don't want to crop this out. So you're going to click on this arrow situation on the bottom left there, and you're going to press next because there's nothing else to do there. So a lot of dudes also will press this sun icon for the Lux on top, which doesn't look horrible here, but man, they can get real carried away with that. So I actually will go up to like 25 or 30 on this sometimes, but I rarely use it. Again, for a picture like this where it's a low contrast situation, it actually looks pretty good to add, you know, like 15 or something like that. And what it does is it just kind of gives a little separation. It's very similar to the clarity effect in VSCO, so you don't want to go too crazy, but again, it's kind of like this balance of trying to figure out what looks good on everyone's phone. And like I said, most people's phones are like somewhere down here in brightness, so I don't know, that's also not my problem. So I'm just gonna do what I think looks good. So let's see, so let's add like 10 on the lux, because I don't want to go crazy with it. And then press edit. So then you want to just go to vignette over here, and I'm gonna scroll all the way over so you guys can see what it's doing. So you can see the corners getting much darker, and again, all the changes you want to make, all the edits you want to make, less is more almost every single time. So I'm gonna go to 50, which is halfway, and click on and off so you can see what it does. So this feels a little too heavy, but it really draws your eye into the picture. So let's cut that in half to 25, and that feels pretty good, but it feels a little light. It's also easy to get wrapped up in the number and think, oh man, like 30, that's a lot, but I don't focus on the number too much, even though I only work in increments of 5, but ignore that. That's just me being crazy. So yeah, so 30 feels good here. I'd say that's pretty much good to go. Yeah, there's not much more I want to do with this. We could check out the sharpen tool here, and I could show you, it makes it a little over sharpened, which again doesn't look terrible on this picture, but you can really see the ALOX is where it starts to suffer when you get too crazy here. See the on and off with that? It's like adds way too much white in there. So I'm gonna leave that alone, and I'm gonna keep it simple with this edit, which is just 10 on the lux and the vignette in the corners. So here's what we do. So we're gonna hit next, and the caption can be something like filming a tutorial on how I shot and edited this for Instagram right now. Will be on my YouTube channel, which name will be announced soon. So that's it. And then what I'll do is I'll put in my SAK all day hashtag without actually putting the hashtag in first, because you only get 30, I think, and I have my hashtags maxed out, which you'll see in a second. So let me not get ahead of myself. So here I'm gonna tag Victorinox and put it right on the shield because they're great. And then we got Ian. Let's see, Ian shown for the pen, and then we got Surge for the knife, and then CountyCom because they're the ones that sell those, and then we got Casey Lynch. And I'm going to tag my buddies over at the Slip Joint as well. So that's done. So now, because I want to make sure I get these hashtags in before there's any comments, I'll go into Evernote, which I have everything, you know, preloaded based on the type of gear it is. You know, if it's like a Strider or something like that, I have all that stuff written out with the, you know, accompanying hashtags, so I don't have to go in and change it every time. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to switch back to Instagram. I'm going to press share. I'm going to wait for it to load. So once this loads, I'm going to go into the comments. Weird. Well, whatever. So once this is loaded, I've already wasted some time dealing with that. So anyway, once that's loaded, you go into the comments, you paste all your hashtags in there, and that should be 30, I think. So I'll go in here and add my little hashtag there. I'll add surge knives and shown design along with Lynch Northwest, and that's it. So now we're just going to leave it alone. So one of the important things with your images is hashtagging them if you care about getting more likes or more followers. If you don't care, you don't have to do anything. Just have a good time, chat with your buddies on Instagram, post up your pictures, and just have fun with it. Thanks all you guys for liking my pictures. Yeah, so hashtagging is really great. If you look at these hashtags, you can screen grab this and steal them. I don't care. Go crazy. vsco all day. I'm very proud to say I started that and is almost at 25,000 posts, which is unbelievable. So I really appreciate the support on that. It's been really fun posting pictures on Instagram. It has led to me getting some work from it, which is really cool as a photographer, especially shooting something for a living that is also my hobby. So that's pretty fun. And in terms of editing a photo, as you can see, there really wasn't much that I wanted to do to it.